the main thing is that the state, way back over 10 years ago, decided to make a big bet on commercial space and build this thing called Spaceport America. So they have created the world's first commercial spaceport. There was a handshake deal between the governor at the time and Richard Branson, which basically said, the governor said, if you build a spaceship system, I will build a spaceport. And Richard said, if you build a spaceport, I'm going to build a spaceship.
You mentioned just a minute ago, you were talking about the Apollo mission.
Yeah.
And so we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of that flight to the moon, that first flight to the moon.
Yeah.
Which was an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah.
And in between then and now, we've had the space shuttle program, but then that's kind of shut down. But it seems in a way like between, 50 years, not a lot has really happened. What's your sense? For me, thinking about it, we had the space shuttle, but outside of that, there hasn't been a lot. We've had some, I guess, the Mars rover and probes and stuff, but how do you see it? What's your sense of the last 50 years between then and now?
Well, it's interesting. It's sort of like a lot has happened, and also we have not exceeded Apollo in a way. You know what I mean? It's clear that Apollo was this weird historical anomaly. Like, we did Apollo earlier than we should have, in a way. That's not to say that we shouldn't have done Apollo. It's just like Apollo was not predictable. It was this sort of weird concatenation of geopolitical competition and all this stuff. And, this moment where we said, okay, in order to, functionally beat the Russians, we have to prove that we're better than the Russians at virtually sort of any cost. And we have chosen that the forum for that competition is space, right? And so, so we spent 4 or 5% of the, federal budget on that program, and we had 400,000 people working on it, right? So we did it in a way like early, there was this anomaly plucked from the future, and we stuck in the 1960s and 70s. But on the other hand, a lot has happened, right? The robotic exploration program has done incredible things, right? Visited every planet in the solar system, all these moons, we've got all these amazing probes going everywhere.
Wait, the robotic program has visited every planet?
Yeah, not necessarily landing, but flying by or, and we finally ticked off the last one when we went to Pluto recently,
so those are not manned.
Not manned, right, yeah. So, just unmanned probes or uncrewed probes. So the robotic program has done amazing things. And, the human program has done amazing things too, but not as much in sort of setting new boundaries for human exploration, right? So, building the International Space Station, which is this massive, massive program, this huge object is flying above our heads, that took, dozens of flights to do. It's an incredible thing. That was an incredible achievement, but it wasn't exploration, and so people don't maybe focus on it much. But the International Space Station is an incredible achievement. All this innovation going on in commercial space right now is driving down the cost of space access, and that's the key to opening up the solar system, right? If we can make it cheaper to get into space, then we can do so much more, right? And so what we're doing, what Elon and Jeff are doing, these are things that are going to drive down the cost of space access, and that's going to open up the universe to us. So that's really exciting right now, and that's why I'm saying to these kids that are going into aerospace right now, you are just darn lucky, because it is the best possible moment to go into this stuff. They're going to have a career where we're going to develop fully reusable space vehicles, and that's going to drop the cost of access by a factor of 100, and then imagine what you can do with that. You're going to have robotic probes, going all over the solar system, exploring things, figuring out whether there's any life on Mars or Europa or Enceladus. These are different places where there's potentially some kind of life in our solar system. And and you're going to have hundreds and then eventually thousands, tens of thousands of people going into space, and that's going to have a fundamental impact on the planet when being an astronaut becomes something that almost somebody will know somebody who's been to space. That's going to be incredible.
Do you think there's life on other planets?
Well, I think super unlikely that there's not life somewhere in the universe besides ourselves, right? I mean, it is hard for the human mind to actually
it's almost narcissistic
get how big it
we're
is.
the only ones,
right? Like there are billions of planets in the universe, right?
Right.
I mean, that's probably underestimating it. I don't even know what's bigger than that.
Right.
It's hard for the human mind to just recognize how many planets there must be in the universe, right? And so the idea that we're the only one, it seems incredibly unlikely. Now, how often does intelligent life evolve? That's hard to say. I mean, we know how long it took on planet Earth, and the answer was sort of 4 billion years.
Right.
So it takes a while for intelligent, conscious life to evolve. At least it did on planet Earth. So that could be rarer.
We're talking about what's happened in the last 50 years, and I think one of the things that really has exploded, and I think it's kind of under the radar, so to speak, but how many satellites are in space.
Yeah.
And when we first met, I met with Dan Hart, who's the CEO of your sister company, Virgin Orbit.
Yeah.
And I was really fascinated to learn like how much is going on in that world, and how competitive that is between nation states as well.
Super competitive. I mean, there's just like there are a lot of launch vehicles getting developed right now, and there are a lot of small launch vehicles being developed right now. But the thing that's really driving it is this revolution in small satellites, because people can now build a satellite, that just it's like the size of your toaster, and it can do amazing things, right? And if you put 2 toasters together, then you can do even more things. And so these are things that, people can build for $10,000, $100,000, it doesn't take that much money to build one of these satellites, and then you can link them together into a constellation, and as a constellation, it has all these other capabilities, and so it's a really exciting time on that side as well. And that's what's really driving it, because that's the application, that's the business end, if you will, of a lot of what's going on right now.
Yeah, so Virgin Orbit is almost like your enterprise business, the business company, and this is like the commercial consumer. Virgin Galactic is the consumer business.
That's exactly right. And that's actually why we spun Virgin Orbit out, right? Because Virgin Orbit was, for about 5 or 6 years, was part of Galactic, but then we realized it was a fundamentally different business, right? One was B2B, one was B2C, and they really sort of were different things.
And you have a third company, the Spaceship Company.
Yeah. So the Spaceship Company is really meant to be sort of the Boeing, if you will, building spaceships for the operator of Virgin Galactic. So Virgin Galactic is sort of like the American Airlines or the Virgin Atlantic Airlines, obviously our preferred partner, or Virgin Australia. And they use vehicles that's built by the Spaceship Company, which is this entity that we set up and built from scratch, really. And now it's building real vehicles from scratch. Right.
We were talking a minute ago about the other companies, Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos' company, and Elon Musk company, Spaceship X. And their approach is a little bit different than what you're doing, right? How what they're trying to do and how they're doing it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, I think from a market perspective, those companies are more focused on big satellites and orbital crewed launch, so sending people into orbit. We are more focused on smaller packages and these sort of suborbital flights into space and back.
Okay.
So there's sort of different markets, although there's a bit of overlap with part of what Jeff Bezos is trying to do. The other architectural difference is that they are both using vertical takeoff, vertical landing architectures, right? So like a rocket that's sitting on a pad, shoots up into space, and then comes back down and lands like on its tail, vertically.
Right.
And what we're focused on,
and those are reusable as well, right?
Yeah, they're reusable as well. But what we're focused on is horizontal launch, horizontal landing, using winged vehicles for that sort of initial bit and coming up.
And why that different design?
Well, it's just it's a different architecture. There are pros and cons of both, right? So for orbital flight, eventually, an orbital rocket is the right thing to do. For a flight that's suborbital, like we're doing, then we think winged vehicles are good in that respect. It's not to say that that either of the architectures are really intrinsically bad. They're
Right.
they're just different, you know. And so having a runway takeoff, runway landing is nice because you have sort of lower G's on the takeoff and landing. Here we are.
Oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is this the entrance right here?
This is the entrance, yeah. So,
That's awesome.
So welcome to Spaceport America. You know, this is a historic, amazing place here. You know,
I love that sculpture.
A little bit
That's
of
cool.
sculpture here. Yeah, it's gorgeous. And
The flags. What's the yellow flag?
so that's the state flag of
Oh,
the
that's the
state
state
of New
flag.
Mexico.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay, that's
and it's
interesting.
beautiful.
Oh, look
beautiful flag.
I mean, it looks. Were you a fan of Close Encounters?
Yeah,
Okay.
Huge fan.
Because when I look at it,
Yeah.
I don't know, it reminds me of one of those ships from Close Encounters in a way.
yeah,
Just
it
this
does
kinda
have a
shape.
vaguely
The ovals,
saucer-esque.
yeah.
Saucer-esque. So you turn in there.
Okay.
Welcome to Spaceport America. You can see our Spaceport mock up there.
That's the model out there. Okay.
And yeah, and we'll just pull up here and show the badges.
Hi.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah,
How are you?
we're doing good. Yeah, sorry.
Just grab that
Absolutely.
Spaceport badge and we'll scan it for you real
Oh,
quick.
great. Sorry. Thanks.
This is fantastic.
Yeah. Welcome to Spaceport. Oh, look, a rocket just went off
Oh, awesome.
right over there.
Yeah.
Sorry. This, you know, that's
No,
what
that's
happens
cool,
at a
yeah.
spaceport. Rockets take off.